These are the 10 best tips that pros use to win every fight. I promise you, if you use all these tips, you'll instantly become a better fighter. Also, the timestamps for each tip are in the description. The first tip is known as the Snail Method. This is basically the best method on how to counter someone that just keeps on pressuring you when you're low. The more boxes and space you create when you're being pressured, the easier it is to counter that pressure and be able to kill the enemy. And by doing the Snail Method, you'll have pretty much infinite ways to outplay your opponent. I came across this move from Vold, so shout out to him. And this is how you do the Snail Method. When you're in a box, edit out of the back of the box, create 3 more boxes by first placing floors, then walls and cones, just like how I'm doing here. By doing this, there are so many ways you can get easy damage off on your opponent without them even being able to hit you back. One way is to do the Snail Method and then set up a right hand peek like this. Another way is to go to the left of the box, set up a right peanut butter edit, and then make a smart edit on the wall ahead of you. You can also edit the top, go to where they are in the box and edit the floor and cone and shoot them from behind the right hand peek. Tip 2. One of the biggest ways pros are easily able to finish fights quickly is because they know how to properly phase into a box. And one of the most important things when it comes to fighting is being able to finish fights fast. So if you want to be able to fight flawlessly and get better at W keying, you need to practice phasing through builds. It turns fights that would last minutes into fights that last just seconds. So here are the best 3 ways to phase into a box. The first one is the shot momentum phase. The second one is the pickaxe momentum phase. The third way is to slide and shoot, or you can slide and pickaxe. I guess that was 4, but if you're wondering why I didn't include the phase ramping, it's because everyone knows this trick and everyone knows how to counter it. If you don't, it's just by pre-firing. I've reviewed the best fighters in the world, and one thing that they do differently to other players is how they approach walls. Most players would just come up to a wall like this, but by doing this, you're pretty much just a free kill, as they can easily full box you, make you cry, and then kill you. What you want to do instead, and what the best fighters do, is approach walls diagonally. What I mean by this is when you go up to a wall, make sure you approach it diagonally and take right hand peeks. This will make it so you can easily move left and right, so you can constantly change angles. On top of fighting diagonally, you need to be using right hand peeks, because some peeks actually make it impossible for the enemy to shoot you once you've shot them. I'll show you the most underrated peek in just a second, but first you need to know about a term called peeker's advantage. In short, this is the small amount of time between you peeking and the other player receiving that information on their screen. This means that if you were to edit a peanut butter edit here just before your enemy's pickaxe lands on your wall, you will always be able to shoot and reset before they can shoot you back. By the way, I came across this term from Zycoma. A way to counter this though is to fake pickaxe, which is where you cancel your pickaxe swing just before the pickaxe lands on your wall. One of the best peeks that can utilize peeker's advantage is this peek. Let's call it the Blexiti peek. To do the Blexiti peek, your opponent needs to be either on a cone or a ramp, preferably on a ramp, and you need to be on a cone. Then edit the bottom 3 tiles of the right of your wall whilst you're as far back on the cone as possible. Also, if you see someone drop on your ramp with their pickaxe out, you can do this edit just before their pickaxe hits your wall. This way you'll take advantage of peeker's advantage and start winning a lot more fights. Another one of the best peeks is if you're in a box and have the ramp. You can edit the left of the ramp, jump and shoot the enemy, and then reset the ramp. Another good peek is if you're on a floor and have a ramp over your head like this, you can edit these 3 tiles of the floor, jump, shoot and reset the floor. You can also do this trick when you're on height, even if you don't have a ramp above your head. Another way you can start winning a lot more fights is by knowing how to get builds in the enemy's box. There are 2 main ways you can do this. The first way is to place a ramp in the enemy's box when they go to shoot you. To do this, your opponent obviously can't have a cone or ramp in their box. What you want to do is keep an eye on your enemy, and when they edit, place a ramp in their box to block their shot. And then you'll have a build in their box which will most likely force them to edit out, and then you can piece control them even more. One thing to know is that if they're at the front of their box, then they'll just phase through your ramp. so it's important to make sure that you're tracking your opponents in fights. Also, if the enemy edits a window where you have a right hand peek, you can place a cone through their window, which will most likely cause them to phase in the cone, which will then make them scared and edit down, where you can pre-piece like this and get a free shot. The other way you can phase builds in the enemy's box is if you're below them and they don't have a cone in their box. To do this, simply just look up at their floor and place a cone, and it will go through and place in their box. If you're on the same level as them and notice they don't have a cone in their box, you can drop down, place a wall in front of you and a cone below you, edit a window and place a cone in front and above in their box. Then you can get an easy kill if they drop down. If they don't drop down, you can just go back up and pre-piece the side. The next tip is a skill that if you learn, I promise you, you will start outplaying your opponents and winning more fights. So this tip is edit baiting, but there is a type of edit baiting that is pointless and is probably getting you killed. The wrong type of edit baiting is this, where you just keep on editing and resetting over and over again. If you do this, you're just going to get carried away and the opponent will just get free shots off on you. So instead of doing this, you just want to edit the build once and then reset. Maybe edit and reset twice. So here are some of the best ways to edit bait. You can edit a window and reset. If you're in the enemy's box and have a ramp, you can edit the left side of the ramp and reset. You can also make a peanut butter edit and reset. Now this is a great way to make your player think you're about to edit, which will make them try to pre-fire you. Obviously you've watched my videos, so you're just outplaying them, but pre-fires are still very effective if you can use them properly. So let's talk about tip 7, which is pre-fires. If you want to be able to pre-fire properly, you need to be able to predict when your opponent is about to edit. One way you can know if they're about to edit is if they start moving and coming up to the wall with their blueprints out. But something you need to be doing if you want to be able to pre-fire better and just improve at fighting in general is by keeping your crosshair at head level and being able to track your enemy. You'll be surprised by how many more fights you'll win if you just keep track of your enemy at all times. Tip 8 is something that when I started doing, it instantly made me better at being able to finish fights quicker, and this is knowing where to piece control. Now this is very situational and depends on the player you're fighting, but for some reason whenever someone is being pressured and wants to escape from a box, they'll usually edit out to their left. So if you want to combat this, you can pre-piece the right side of their box. So start doing this and you'll win a lot more fights. If you want a full routine based on how long you can play, I have a free document with a routine for every time limit from 1 to 8 hours. I guarantee you'll see huge improvement if you start sticking to a well-balanced routine that is actually effective. If you want this document and lots of other free exclusive resources, videos and much more, then you can join my Discord server that's linked in the description. But now let's talk about one very simple trick that will help you win more fights. Tip 9 is to do with angles. You just want to be constantly switching angles as much as possible when hitting a wall. No pro stays on the same wall and stays still for more than 1 second. Every good fighter constantly switches angles because they know that if they don't, it's very easy for the enemy to just full box you and get a free kill. Tip 10 is something that has 10 times my fighting skill. Now I don't care how simple this trick is, because the fact is that this trick, it just works. And tip 10 is just to simply constantly think about what your next move is and constantly think about every edit you do. So instead of just building and editing for no reason at all, look at your opponent and try to figure out what you can do to get damage off on your opponent and what steps you can make to outplay your opponent. Pros are always 2 steps ahead of their enemies, and it's why they can easily drop 30 kills in tournaments. That's it for today's video, but I just picked out this video for you to watch if you want to. If you enjoyed this video, then consider liking and subscribing, and if you want to support me further, you can use code Blexiti in the Fortnite item shop. Also, if you want the full routine I talked about earlier and much more, then you can join my Discord server, which is linked in the description. I'm actually so grateful for all the support recently, and I genuinely hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.